Alrighty, we are recording. I didn't look at this one. Hello, this is Jack Counts. I'm going to be doing a speech on partisanship in America and how that causes a lot of negative things that people don't really realize are caused by partisanship. I'm going to go through the little preliminary things like we were, like we needed to do. So real quick, here are my cards. We've got intro, body, body 2, no sentences, just some keywords. I have really bad handwriting, so please excuse that. Body 2, 3, little things, reminding me to explain certain things if I forget by chance. Yeah, 3 cards, 3x5s. This is them. They are all that is on my desk. It's my phone. Desk is clear of all papers. This is the place where I can see what exactly I'm filming. You can see it's kind of, there we go. Nothing else on the desktop. Let me move the mouse over here. Nothing behind it or anything like that. Nothing like that. All right. And then the other desktop, nothing on it. I just tend to usually put the camera over here and my main camera right there. This whole stand and everything is my microphone, pop filter to try and reduce sound from the computer. And then here's the wall under the desk. No papers or anything of the sort on the ceiling, nothing like that. Full 360 of the room. It's my audience member. It's the full 360. Sorry, losing balance there. All right, so as you can see, lost focus on. There we go. No papers of any kind outside of my cards. Just doing it based on the cards and the keywords. The way I'm going to be doing this is I'm going to be live stream. This is currently being streamed. I'm going to be live streaming my speech and simultaneously recording it. And this is my audience member, Lindsay. My roommates and parents were all out of town, and this is Lindsay. So she's helping me. There's me. Look, there's me on her screen. It's a little bit bright, but that's what you just saw moments ago. It's on a short delay, but that is the stream. She's got headphones plugged in, and she's watching it, and she is going to be my only live audience member today. But there might be other people watching. I don't know. I'm not checking the chat because, potential cheating or whatever. So that's that. And so how I'm going to do this is, now that I've shown all that around, I've got a different, nicer webcam right here where I can click over like so, clicking back over, boom, and then that's them. That's the 2 webcams. All right. And so when I switch over from, when I switch over from this little guy right here on the desk, I'll be sitting, kind of far back away from the desk and everything, away from the keyboard. I won't mess with the computer during the speech. Going to be using hand gestures and cards and whatnot, making eye contact with that. And by making eye contact with that, I'm making eye contact with Lindsay and anybody else who happens to be watching. So with that, I'm going to switch over to the other camera and give my speech. All right, just flip it over. Got my cards. Gonna try and do this. Yeesh. Anything? I don't know. I'm gonna be standing for this. That's why I'm adjusting this right now. Audience member, cards. Everything's good to go. Move the chair. Oh shoot. Okay. All right. There'll probably be some small errors, but I will try and push through them and get this done with. Okay. America is more divided than it has ever been in our lifetimes. A quote from Obama's final State of the Union speech really displays this. He said that his only regret in his entire presidency was that the country became more divided rather than less over the course of it. The campaign between Clinton and Trump is a clear indicator of just how divided we have become. This division between the two parties is known as partisanship. And we've reached a state of extreme partisanship. And this extreme partisanship causes everyday discrimination and hostility. It causes group polarization, and it causes our government to be much less effective. In a 2016 article in the Wall Street Journal, Jean Safer writes a detailed article about the state of her marriage. Her marriage is an inter-party one. She is a liberal and her husband is a conservative. And though they love each other very much and have a lot of similarities, their differences in political belief causes a lot of strain on their marriage. She talks about a lot of fights that they've had, some being so bad that she thought they were going to end her marriage. Through avoidance-style conflict management, they eventually just ignored the problem and stopped talking about inflammatory topics. But this kind of avoidance-style management is what has gotten our country into these problems. Through consistent avoidance-style and competitive-style conflict management, we've found ourselves in quite the gap. Jean Safer isn't the only one having these marriage problems. In a study by Shinto Ingar, a professor at Stanford, and some of his research associates, they found that only 9% of current marriages are inter-party marriages. But it goes beyond just that research. He did a lot of research into partisanship, and some of his discoveries were very frightening. He found that discrimination between parties is much more extreme than discrimination based on race. Inter-party discrimination is much more common and extreme than discrimination based on race. That's crazy. And you might wonder how he would get to a point like that. How could it be so much worse? And he credits it to group polarization. Group polarization is the idea that when we're in groups, we decide more extreme things, we do more extreme things than even what the people intended to do and what they believed when they joined the group. And how we end up with group polarization is kind of shown through some research by Maggiotto and Pearson back in 1977. They found that a very strong measurement of loyalty in a party is your attitude towards the other party, primarily a negative attitude. And so fueling that negative attitude in a group like that just leads to all sorts of conflict and bad evaluations of the other party that might be true. They extremify everything. This group polarization combined with this way to measure loyalty leads to some outright discrimination and hostility based on party. In 1960, Campbell and some of his associates in a very famous study called The American Voter found that the issues just aren't what is important. What's important is how you're raised and what you think of the other party. And in a world where we're at that 9% inter-party statistic that's only getting lower as we become more and more partisan, more and more children, every generation, is being raised in more partisan households. The more closed-minded each party becomes, the more conflict there will be and the less compromise we reach. And that is one of the biggest problems at all. It starts to stall the efficiency of our government, which is much, much worse than it sounds, especially in a day and age such as this that has gotten so much faster than when this government was created. Yale professor Mayhew, in 1991, published a book called Divided We Govern. In it, he talks about a lot, and I'm going to be mentioning some of his research in this next part. Government is made with lots of checks and balances in place, especially in the House, the Senate, and the presidency. When one party holds majority in the House, for instance, and the other party holds majority in the Senate, they can keep each other from passing laws until they compromise. But the more partisan we become, the less likely reaching a compromise is. They can't reach a compromise if their party views a compromise with the other party as unacceptable. So this partisanship leads us to these stalls in government where nothing gets done, no laws are passed, each side is at odds, nothing happens. And part of that even is that bad laws, as he calls them, get passed. And bad laws are laws that will only benefit 50% of the American people at a maximum, really, because the laws that get passed are only passed when one of the parties has majority in both houses and can pass any laws that they want, essentially. And these bad laws that are made without compromise could be very devastating to some people in the country, and that just fuels the whole conflict. Another problem with inefficient government is that the government then becomes slow to respond to things like economic change. When the economic change is going in a negative way and the government doesn't do anything to correct it, it can grow into things like recession and depression if they're not doing something to help, and sometimes they can't when we're getting into these stalls on what might be the best solution to fix it. And these recessions and depressions can cause some devastating long-term impacts, making it one of the worst of the various symptoms of partisanship. Hostility, discrimination, group polarization, government inefficiency, all these things are just symptoms of partisanship and our poor conflict management. We've been so focused on the competitive and avoiding styles of either avoiding our problems or things have to be our way, that we've really just forgotten about what the country is built on, what the government's built on. It's built on compromise and doing something that works for everybody, and independence and freedom. And we're just starting to move away from that. We start to see the other side as wrong, and there's a lot of harm that can come from that partisanship, as you've learned in this speech. Compromise is born from understanding, and that's something we all need to realize going into this, is that it's not the other party at fault, it's partisanship. And as we understand that, we can start to correct the problem. All right. That'll be that, and let me switch over to show you the end of everything. Again, same desk, just set down my cards. Still nothing on the monitors. Lindsay's still over here watching everything. And so that's it. I hope you enjoyed the speech.